Oh, is that the right button? Yes, it is. Chat, what is up?
How y'all doing?
I had a long night last night.
So I've heard.
Oh man. So I didn't prep for today's show, so I don't know if you can tell by the thumbnail or not.
What's
Blame Josh.
Oh, I didn't even see the thumbnail. What is it?
You ain't seen the thumbnail?
No.
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
I'm actually I don't know, like you said you were gonna make fun of me today for the Jufro. I mean, it hit 90 degrees.
Chat chooses chill stream. Hey, we're chilling today, boys. We're chilling.
Yeah, it hit 90 degrees, and my hair, like the Jufro, is out in full force. So I gotta rep the hat today. So I think it looks pretty good, though. What do you think?
Fanny Willis, what's up, dude? The hat? It's a nice hat.
I think it's good.
You need to
I
cut
like
that
it.
hair, though.
I do need a haircut. But yeah, we got a
couple things we're going to look at. We're going to let chat. We're going to discuss kind of like we do at the end of streams. But I got a couple things I want to cover. One of which was there was a debate last night between Corey and Mahler, and which I've mentioned him before, and James White. I don't know if I've mentioned him on here, but he's a large name in the Reformed community. I did a little editing real quick last night and caught a couple good bits that I thought are going to play really, really well here.
from yesterday's stream,
From last night's stream.
Okay.
It's really short. It's like 2 minutes. I condensed 3.5 hours into 2 minutes.
That's fine. I mean,
But
honestly,
it's good, dude.
I think like don't force the clips. You know what I mean? Let the clips just be.
Yep. So we'll go over a couple of those. Josh sent me a Joe Rogan episode. We'll probably dive into that. A little bit of Orb DARPA technology.
Yeah.
Little conspiracy theories Friday again.
We thought a continuation of yesterday's topics would be had.
I was questioning here. Are you Jewish?
Not that I know of. Vandernoord is Dutch. I'm not saying there's honestly.
He just got bad genes, man. He's a Dutch with bad genes.
We could. I mean, I'm the only one in my family with curly hair, so there could have been some shenanigans in the lab. I'm not an IVF baby, but
Yeah.
I am the firstborn. You know what I mean? My grandma says there's a little Ashkenazi in there somewhere.
Oh no.
But I don't know if
Get
that's
out.
true.
Get out.
Yeah, I know.
Get out.
I'm tainted. I'm tainted. Nobody's perfect.
Picture says only 90 degrees. It's already hit 100 here. I don't even know what. It's hot outside. I know that. It's humid. We live on a swamp, right? So there's a river that runs this way, and then we live off the street where we live off the river this way. Probably, how far is that? I don't know, quarter mile maybe.
Well, I mean, we
And so
live
there's a little
in
stream.
a swamp.
Yeah, it's a swamp. Yeah, well, the whole county is a swamp. We live in
Yeah.
a bowl, and then inside the bowl, I live on the swamp. Right, the
Right.
backyard is a swamp, and it's thick back here.
What was that noise? Yo!
Let's see, John Moondragon, welcome, dude. Have you been here before? I don't know. That Corey dude last night was an absolute idiot. Maybe I'll kind of break down. I mean, he wasn't. Once you understand his positioning, and it came full circle, which this clip will show. I'd like to know in which way you think he was an idiot, Bagel. What are bagels?
I think those are
Oh,
burgers.
Because you're Jewish?
Because I'm a Jew.
No, I'm not. Stop noticing me.
Live close to the ocean. Oh, we're about an hour from the ocean.
I mean, honestly, the ocean isn't the problem. It is the fact that we live in a...
We live in a bowl. Like everything's a
Yes.
swamp around here. Like the county lives in a dip. Like we're below sea level, I believe.
Yes. Between like we don't have like those grass medians. We have like beds of water. Like everything
Holds. It's
Everything,
like
yeah.
living in Louisiana. Crispy said only 79 in Ohio. Perfect for South Africans. Send them to Ohio, give them some land to farm. I think I put in the description here. Oh, it's on the title. I said we have an answer. Just ask a question. So,
That's
Chad,
good. I
if
like that.
y'all ever think about anything, you got a question. We have the answer. Maybe not the right one, but we have one. We have an answer. I'm going to pull up. Oh, this is Evangelical Dark Web did a review on it, I guess last night. Let me see if I can find my edit I did real quick, and then I'll pull y'all over. Josh, What else?
Yes.
What else? Did you look into the orbs any last night or anything?
No. If I did, I'd go blind.
Oh, did I? I sent you this. I sent you Ashton Forbes.
Mm-hmm. What about it?
That.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want to cover that too.
Okay.
I was gonna. Where's your? I text you.
There
this.
you go.
Chat. I got like 18 tabs open right now. Golly, dude, I can't do anything. Chat, I'm struggling. Running on like 3-4 hours of sleep too. This was in response to somebody saying the orbs are fake. The orbs are real. Whoever, I don't know. The problem is people's Twitter names are not the same as their YouTube usernames, and so they can kind of anon themselves over here. Chat, is that you? Are you in the chat calling me out? Who was it? Alpaca, Papa Paca. Do you think a lot of our issues today? Hold on,
Pull that
let me
up,
bring it
yeah.
up. You read it, Josh.
Do you think a lot of our issues today in the church is because pastors are not getting virgin brides? I get life is messy, but look at the Old Testament law. The priests have to have virgin wives. Honestly, I mean, I think that's just a symptom of a larger problem. I don't think the problem is,
I mean,
well,
is it
there's
a
bad
problem?
doo-doo
Yes, but it's
or bad voodoo, you know?
it's a problem, but it's not. I wouldn't say it's a problem in that it is a symptom of a larger problem. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I do think objectively, people that save themselves until marriage, especially if both partners do, there is something there about that cannot be overcome if you're not a virgin, you know? But that's not to be said that like you can't. Do you get kind of what I'm saying? Where it's like, like if you get caught in one lie, and then you never lie again, you can't get past the fact, like other people can't get past the fact that you lied the one time. You know what I mean?
I mean,
you can get over it, you can heal, and you can have a genuine, healthy relationship. That's not the point. The point is it's more difficult. It takes more
Let
work.
me see if I can pull this.
It's
up.
the path of least resistance is to have a virgin wife and to be a virgin husband. But like you said, life is messy. Things happen. It doesn't mean that these people love each other any less. But you know, it's like you can have a genuine love for someone, but if they have some kind of problem, you know, and not that being, if you're repentant, you're good. Is what I think. I hope I'm making sense here and I'm not rambling.
I disagree. Hold on.
You
let me see if I can
disagree?
find something. It's not that I disagree entirely, but I disagree in the aspect that salvation and forgiveness nullifies consequences.
No, yeah, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Kind of sounds like that's what you're saying.
No.
Oh, here it goes. All right, let me see if I can pull this up on stream. Chat, I'm telling you, you got to bear with me today, chat. We'll get there. I promise you we'll get there. But you got to bear with me for like a half a second. Is this it?
First of all, you can't intimidate me.
This one? Yep, that's better. How do I get it? I'll just make it huge. Counterintuitive trends in the link between premarital sex and marital stability. I'm not saying this is the defining thing, obviously, but like I said, these are consequences of the larger problem. These are symptoms of the larger problem. There's a chart what I want to get to, but I'll just halfway check this out while we're here. I mean, this is 2016, so this is almost 10 years ago now. So whatever these numbers they're going to put out is probably significantly worse.
Yeah, it's like the more sexual partners you have, the more likely you're going to get a divorce. And the point is
exponentially more.
Yes. And the point is that even though that is true, and that's the point I was trying to make is I'm not trying to belittle, because like there's good Christian relationships where one or both people in them did have premarital sex. But the point is it's work. It's more work to kind of get to baseline if you can ever get there in the first place. You know what I mean?
I don't think you can ever. I mean, you can't get back there because it's already done.
Right.
Let's just dive into this real quick. American sexual behavior is much different than it used to be. Today, most Americans think premarital sex is okay. It will have 3 or more sexual partners before marrying. I mean, now it's what, 15, 20? What, if anything, does premarital sex have to do with marriage stability? Research shows women with 10 or more partners were most likely to divorce, but this only became true in recent years. Women in 3 to 9 partners were less likely to get divorced than women with 2 partners, and women with 0 to 1 partners were the least likely. I mean, I feel like this is intuitive, right?
Yeah.
Here's some of the numbers, I guess. Let's just take a look. Distribution of women's premarital sex partners by marriage cohort, 1970s. 0 partners, 21, 17, 14, 20, 12, 5. I don't know if I like the way they did this chart. The problem with the chart is that in 1970s, 80s, you didn't have no-fault divorce, and also you didn't have a culture of high partners. So these numbers didn't even really exist in the same way that they do here. But, I mean, I guess if we're just looking at it, 5% for 0 partners, it quadruples. It's over 400% increase if you have 1 partner in premarital sex. And then it drops from 2 to 3. That's crazy. Wonder why that is. Maybe we need to dive into that.
Speculation.
But I mean, the point stands. I mean, you go from 5 to 4x immediately after. Hopefully that answers.
Well, and
Noble's
also,
question.
I think there's some truth, but also it's like there is, in the same way that guys have this intuitive knowledge, like even sexually promiscuous guys like Andrew Tate and Myron, they still, despite that, know that like guys in general desire a woman who has been with less men.
Yes.
Even though they think it's okay to be with as many women as you want. And so I guess the point I'm making is it's like the same kind of mentality actually does exist in women, where women, even if they're not Christian, they're sexually promiscuous, there's this stigma they have within them. It's like, I can't sleep with him on the first date because I don't want to seem like a slut, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the point is like, I think also the type of women that are like that casual, there is something wrong with them mentally. And you know, so it's kind of the same thing. Like what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, we can
Does
dive
the
into-
marriage not work because they had that many partners before, or does the marriage not work because she's crazy? And one of the indicators is that she had that many partners before.
You know, mechanically, the DNA of the male partner stays with the female partner for life.
I've
Stack
heard
that
this
multiple times.
I've heard this, but I don't know
It
exactly
changes-
what that means.
Okay.
That
Maybe we
that
could
like the DNA.
Yeah, like it's
Of the man?
it would be something similar to like an epigenetic cover on DNA or specific DNA. The noble one. Sorry to hyper black pill here, but I am trying to spread these ideas around. Better examples for the church leaders is a better church often.
I agree, but
Yeah, I
also
agree too.
it's like is like definitely. So you saw the thing, I assume, with shoot, what's his name? The Catholic Answers guy? No.
Ortland?
Trent
Horn?
Trent Horn. Yeah.
Oh, dude, what a debacle. Get
What-
that dude off the internet.
Trent Horn and his wife.
I never liked him, dude.
I never liked
his
him either.
face. I didn't like
No,
his face,
he's
dude. Is what it is, man. I just didn't like his face.
But so you did you see the drama with his wife recently, like a month ago or so? It was
Yeah,
big in the
I don't know.
Groyper sphere.
I saw it floating around. I didn't care for him. I didn't care to dwell on it. So
The point being is that his wife is clearly like a nutcase.
yes,
And she is the type of woman that should not be sharing their testimony, because her testimony
is
Is-
damning
is-
to
is bad.
yes.
And so the point is I think if your pastor married a
only-
woman
her
who had
it
sex
wasn't
one
just
time
her
before him,
testimony. It was something else she added on to that, almost as if it was a current thing.
Well, she basically,
if I remember right.
was flippantly admitting to being attracted to someone other than her husband. This is one of those things where it's like, that's like, okay, if you were addicted to drugs and Jesus helped you get over that, that's a testimony that is palatable, that is shared. Like, you wanting to cheat on your husband, and your husband is basically a teacher, a pastor, in a way of speaking.
An
That
influencer
that
of
is inappropriate.
Catholics.
That is
Yeah.
not an appropriate
me, chap.
you know, if someone came out, if someone approached her and said, "Hey, I'm having this problem. There's this guy at work, and you know, things have just been hard with my husband, and the guy at work's been really comforting, you know, like, you know, this is just what I'm going through." And then she's like, "You know what? I was in a similar situation." That's fine. But like,
Go ahead.
being that flippant about it is not okay. And the point being is, like, these women are actually very easy to spot. You know, if you're not a simp, they're very easy to spot, and just stay away from them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
The point, like-
I don't think it's a hyper black pill, man. I mean, that's just the reality. That's the nature that we have to deal with right now. I would say something to the effect of, oh, this is hard. Churches don't do a good enough job in raising up young adults. And what I
Very
mean by
true.
that is churches don't train up possible or future youth pastors or pastors and help them and go send them to seminary. It's like almost fend for yourself. Seminary will fix you. But now seminary's gone so far, almost anti-Christian, if you will, on most levels, that when they come out, they're so they're so emasculated that wherever they go, the church is going to become more feminine by its very nature. And so then it turns away the young men in the church, which is why you have a lot of them turn into more traditional pieces like Orthodoxy or even Catholicism,
Right.
Even with its recent push to wherever it's going. But it's like, you have to change. I mean, the church isn't bound by the culture. I understand this, but you have to change the culture if you want to drive the church. And this is what I would think that this is what Christian nationalism kind of argues for, is a Christian culture or cultural Christians throughout. That way the church is able to be the church that it's supposed to be through aid through civil means, if that makes sense. That's a little... No, well, thank you for stopping by. Tyrone, what's up? Most women are attracted to men with higher sexual experience opposed to the opposite. I don't know if it's sexual experience they're attracted to, but it would convert into something that is more masculine.
Right.
It's their nature to want a more dominant male. I don't think that's inherently tied to sexual experience, but I mean, I guess in today's day and age it is.
Yeah, and that's that's one of those things. It's kind of like I was saying earlier, like what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's not like you were saying. It's not that they want a guy who's more sexually experienced. It's a guy who is sexually experienced will have the qualities that most women find attractive. Kind of putting the cart before the horse.
Oh boy. Chat, give me 1 second.
Any text messages you want to share with the class?
Sorry, the wife's texting me. Let me
Pre-selection. What do you
Josh,
mean by that, Ninja?
give him a rundown on why orthodoxy is bad.
I don't know
Or wrong.
anything about orthodoxy. Do you know who Mari Emanuel is? I like that guy. I think he.
Josh about to solo this thing real quick for you boys. Good luck, dude.
What you got going on?
I gotta call the wife real quick. Give me like 5 minutes.
All right.
Is that the right camera? Yeah.
Hey.
I'm sorry.
Hold up. No. You're good. Hold on. Is the chat still up? Okay, we still got the chat up. All right. Zeb's gone. Zeb's a simp. You know, his wife calls and he has to go. No, I'm kidding. Basically, we've talked about this before when it comes to the relationship between men and women and their nature and their respective natures therein, where basically the we're talking like, I forget who said it in the comments, but like, should pastors focus on having wives that are virgins? Should people strive to find sexual partners that have to find wives and husbands that have had the least amount of sexual experience possible? This is ideal. It's not controversial to say that, especially in Christian circles. But I think sometimes, and especially, no offense, Catholics, I'm not one of these hardcore Baptists that thinks you're going to hell. Same thing with the Orthodox. I actually love you guys a lot, but you guys do tend to fall into superstition a little bit easier than like regular Protestants. And I'm not one. I'm more than happy to crap on regular Protestants like myself. I just believe what I believe, and is what it is. However, like, we're supposed to not be gluttonous. We're supposed to not be sexually promiscuous. But Jesus says, it's like, if you think about having sex with another woman, you have committed adultery. We all fall short of the glory of God. To kind of like try and put every single person into a box, and like there's some sort of right combination, like there's some sort of spell you attain when you get all the right ingredients. That's not how it works. People, there's like I know a couple people, friends of mine. One of the people in the relationship saved themselves until marriage. The other did not. And they are one of the most happy, healthy couples I've ever met. You get that through Christ. You get that through a constant pursuit of Jesus, a constant pursuit of God. That being said, you can't deny that. So like, there is, when you have sex before marriage, you have lost something. And that's not to say that you can't have a happy, healthy relationship, but it is to say that it doesn't have no effect. But we're saved by grace, and that's how you go. And Zeb's back now to
Chat, rate Josh on a scale of A, B, C, D, F. And then I got a question of why do we not have
basically
E's
heard how
as
I
grade?
sound on the Joshua Vandernoord show, live953.com on Saturdays, 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. For now.
Where are we at? I'll catch up later. Rikovich, what's up?
I don't know if I should answer because
Would we care to
they
come
watch
on your
the show and I don't want to.
Yeah, I'd come on. Josh probably would too. I mean,
Would
what
you guys
wanna
want to
talk-
come
it
on
depends
your
what you
show?
wanna talk about. Josh, a couple of you talked to about was girl a virgin or guy a virgin?
The girl was. The guy was who was promiscuous at one time. But he had a super big come to Jesus moment. He's one of the most devout people I know. I answered your question.
What did he say? It's
He
critical.
wants to know. I was giving an example of like, I know people where one of the partners was promiscuous at a time, the other one wasn't, and they have one of the best healthy Christian relationships I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he wants to know if it was the guy or the girl who was promiscuous.
All right, chat. Let me try to lay out this debate a little bit. This was
Hey, Rodney.
This was a debate last night, and then it kind of went on a little bit afterwards. They had an after effect. The host did. They kind of talked afterwards. And the debate was on black sanctification. I thought Corey was making his point well enough. Somebody said he was an idiot. Who was that? Let me find who that
That was John Moondragon.
All right, John. I would like to know what specifically you thought he was an absolute idiot on. I'm assuming it's going to be the troll questions that were coming from the cross-examination, because they weren't necessarily troll questions in that he was trying to troll, but he was trying to establish the nature of reality that binds us, right? And God is also bound in reality minus miracles, which the agreement on the debate was to exclude outliers. And so this was like a 3.5 hour debate. I think the debate was actually like 2 hours, but they went on afterwards for over an hour. And then, I mean, I tried to condense it into like 2 minutes. So ready, set, go. And then Josh, give me your thoughts on this one.
When a man converts to Christianity, does he typically gain the ability to fly?
This question was after like a series of like obvious questions. He's just establishing the idea that God doesn't destroy nature, or God doesn't subvert nature outside of miracles. Right.
Right.
When a man converts to Christianity, does he typically gain the ability to fly?
Could we get to something about the subject, please?
He was getting so frustrated too, man.
Please answer the question.
It's an absurd question.
Then it should be easy to answer.
Right, but I'm done with the absurd questions. Get to the questions that are relevant.
This
to
is
the thesis, or stop asking them.
cross-examination. This is
No,
cross-examination.
no,
I get to ask
and
the
it's in a
questions.
debate. So you're supposed to be asking
Correct.
about what I've said in the debate. I said
Well-
nothing about flying. This is a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of the audience's time too. Please try to
I
respect
believe the audience, at least some of the audience, I believe some of the audience knows
I
exactly.
do agree.
I believe
let's
that-
let's keep the questions on topic.
I believe
please.
he's answered it sufficiently. I was going to move on
Yeah.
anyway.
Flying is not
Can
a part of
Christ-
the debate.
A few moments later.
So God has created rules for this universe. Is man subject to the rules of the universe that God has created?
we live in this world. Every time if we try to rebel against the law of gravity, jump out of an airplane without a parachute, and you'll see what the result is.
So man cannot fly.
Got him.
I believe that is sufficient. I yield my remaining minute and 40 seconds.
A few minutes later.
I just want to clear the air. I did not want to cut him off. I mean, Ryan and I kind of had an agreement, like only interfere when absolutely necessary. And I wanted him to make his point. I wanted to give him the space. But like when he started asking about like what, animals and men flying, just like you can do that, but you can really prove that point in 3 questions, not 50. And people on Twitter are saying that I don't have the IQ to track his arguments. And really, like, if you just start asking about Sasquatch and lizards, like, it's just not on topic anymore. I had to interfere. But I think we were pretty fair debaters, wouldn't you guys say?
Josh, if you have to ask the question for affirmation for being fair debaters, moderators, do you think you were probably fair debaters?
Well, I would need to see this in context because, admittedly, and I agree with Corey Mahler. I presume. I mean, since you showed me his channel, I really like a lot of his stuff. But I mean, did he ask him 50 questions just to convey one point? Because I think if he would,
he did. We could watch the cross examination. That was probably the most interesting part of the debate. Everything else was just like yapping back and forth.
I feel like you could establish the point a little bit more concisely. You know what I mean? I mean, I didn't watch the debate, so in context, maybe I get it, but who knows?
Come on.
You're not doing that, and everybody sees it and knows it.
Hypothetical. The breakfast question confuses most of these people. If you had not had breakfast today, how would you feel now? That's a hypothetical. But again, so is the Christian faith. How do you deal with these matters? These are legitimate, important Christian questions. I'm glad that my opponent turned to Colossians instead of Galatians. The problem, of course, is that it's a...
Sorry, chat. Bear with me.
Would his argument be as valid against his people as he's making against black?
Because there's an extremely easy response. Very straightforward for anyone who knows Scripture. The Old Testament consistently and constantly describes the Jewish people racially as a stiff-necked people. That is a racial characteristic that makes sanctification more challenging.
Chat, I got to stop for 1 second. Rigatoni said, or Rigatoni. What's Rigatoni? Is that
That's a type of noodle.
pasta?
Yeah.
Rigovich, sorry. It was very glib yesterday and used broad brushstrokes for subjects that are far more nuanced. Forgive me.
You're fine. I mean, I don't even know what
I'm a
she's
chicken was trying
referencing.
to multitask is a myth that women can do so. Apparently my wife's in the chat and she texted me and said, women can multitask. So
I don't think
I don't know.
anyone
Maybe
can.
I'll bring you on and get my wife in here, and y'all can debate multitasking, women and multitasking.
I'll be good. Because here's the thing. I can't multitask. Like, I have a reputation of not being able to multitask, but here's the thing. Nobody can. I just don't pretend I can.
I don't think anybody can actually multitask.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
no
really
one
good
can
at
do it.
switching back and forth.
Yeah. Well, I'm not.
Sometimes.
I'm not even good at that.
Okay.
Admittedly. I just gotta. Okay. Here's this. Finish. Here's this. Finish.
She said, use broad brushstrokes for subjects that are far more nuanced. I do think it is very nuanced debate, but it necessarily requires a discussion in generalities and not specifics. So, yeah, she just texted me. She's probably saying, don't.
Do it every day.
Let's see. Am I going to have to bring up the studies on multitasking for her?
It's a red pill. Your
Because they are stubborn. They are
Sure.
obstinate. They persist in their sin. They are impenitent. Let's give another example in the New Testament. All Cretans are liars. Racial aspect, racial accusation against a particular people makes it more difficult to sanctify them. Much more difficult to deal with people who are innate liars than those who are not. I'll also address the point where my opponent decided to ask about my ancestors, my Germanic ancestors. Let's go ahead and talk about Tacitus. What did Tacitus note about the Germanic tribes? He said specifically that they held marriage in high esteem. Adultery was staunchly and strictly punished amongst them. That is actually in keeping with God's moral law. And scripture speaks about the pagans who have the law written on their hearts and keep the law despite not having the written law. That is a benefit to them, and they should be praised for that. That was a good thing. It doesn't mean it saved them, certainly. But again, I wonder.
I need to get
sections,
to cross-examination.
They can cross-examine the other. And here's some ground rules for the cross-examination.
These texts that man, would you agree that Barbaros and Skuthes are both
The point of cross-examination
Old
is
Testament
to
Israelites just believe
establish the foundation that you're arguing for. And I think that's what the moderators didn't understand. It doesn't matter how, and second of all, it's Corey's time. He can spend that time as he wishes. If I was on the other side and I believed that the questions he was asking were absurd, guess what I would do, Josh? Ask more absurd questions, right? If it's not relative to the debate, then just keep asking them so I win, right? If they're absurd and they're not relevant to the debate, just allow him to finish off his time. He hasn't a lot of time, which he ended up giving up like 5 minutes of it in total. Does that make sense?
So what? Help me out here. What was the point Corey was trying to convey? And I'll preempt it here a little bit. It seems to me like they're debating race, I assume.
To an extent.
Okay. And the concept of race within the church. And how
no,
can
okay, so here's James White's issue is he was largely arguing for justification. The debate was on black sanctification or racial sanctification. Justification is the regeneration. It's immediate, right? So once you get saved, you
Yes.
are justified. Salvation or sanctification is an ongoing process that is never completed until you walk through the pearly gates, until you get into heaven. And so the argument is that there are physical and earthly aspects that are a hindrance to humans as individuals and necessarily as people groups because genetics play a role in all of this. And this is Corey's position. I believe Corey is correct in this position. But James White is largely arguing throughout the entire debate of justification. He conflates justification and sanctification many, many times. And even on my spats on Twitter, we got retards coming out of the woodwork on Twitter. It's like, I don't like, where are they coming from? And they're all conflating the same thing also. I don't think they actually understand the argument being made from Corey's side. And so they just, they get frustrated for lack of understanding, and then they lash out emotionally.
For the camp.
okay? Would it be possible for a Scythian, according to Colossians 3:11, to be more sanctified than an upstanding Roman citizen?
Theoretically possible, but that would be that outlier we agreed not to use as part of the debate.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So, Corey, it is your turn for your 10-minute cross-examination. Time will start whenever you choose. You ready?
Yes.
All right.
I would like to start with a lighthearted question just to sort of change the tone for a minute. In Leviticus 19:32, it says, "You shall stand up before the gray head and honor the face of an old man." As another man who is clearly balding, would you be willing to say that gray hair could certainly be interpreted to include also the bald head of the old man as a sign? Sort of self-serving question.
A very self-serving question. Yes. Actually, most of mine was worn off by wearing a cycling helmet for 170,000 miles, so that's the problem.
That would certainly do that. So to move on to the second question, a little more serious. Per your confession, infants cannot have faith. Is that correct?
That's not the topic of our debate, but I believe that faith is a work of regeneration. Infants are born in Adam's; they'd have to be regenerated to have saving faith. So if God wanted to do that in an outlier situation, we can have debate on that at some point in time. Well, not you and I, but others. But anyway.
Do you distinguish between direct faith and reflexive faith, or do you not distinguish those?
No, I think the New Testament's very clear that the gift of faith is one that has as its object the person of Jesus Christ. So when we have young children, not infants, but young children who come forward, profession of faith, desiring to be baptized, we specifically...
I want to address a comment real quick. Noble One just posted. This shouldn't have been a debate. It isn't profitable for anyone. It should have been a discussion between the two. The problem is James White won't engage. And so I think this is the only way to get James White to engage. The reason they wanted to get James White to engage is to show the intellectual separation of the two, right? It's to essentially prove a point. And James White's flip-flopped on a number of issues more recently than not to appeal to what is the post-war consensus. The culture is shifting, and so James White basically and his people, however you want to group them, want to make this claim that racism is a sin, that having a preference is a sin, and it's not. And so I think the topic of the debate was necessary to get the engagement, not necessarily to actually delve into the topic itself, if that makes any sense. There was another one too. You said, can y'all have Sean Strickland on the show? I mean, I'll have him on the show tomorrow. I'll have him on the show right now if he shows up. I don't care. I don't know if y'all watch any of my touch graphs. Dude, I'll have anybody on. Left, right, center, extreme left, progressive. Find me some Antifa, dude, and I'll have them on. I don't care. Anybody.
Just as long as they're interesting.
You know who I do want to get on here?
Who's that?
I want to get a hold of Thomas Rousseau. I feel like there's.
You think that could happen?
One day. I want to get Chris Langan on too, but that's a different animal. Why does he say? Oh, I already read that. Do you believe that all races, bloodlines, and tribes have blessings and curses? Yes. I believe that because that is what the Bible says. And
ask them who they're believing in, what they understand about him, before we give baptism to them.
Would you say that it's fair that you conceptualize faith, saving faith, as a conscious trust in Christ and his completed work?
Yes.
Are men conscious when they are asleep?
Not in the normal use of that term.
Are men conscious when they are in a coma?
Same answer.
Do you hold to or agree with the 1689 London Baptist Confession of Faith?
Yes.
Oh, I'm in Corey's face. Sorry.
Can the leopard change his spots?
No.
Can the Ethiopian change his skin?
Not according to Jeremiah.
Do you know the etymology of the word Ethiopian?
A lot of argumentation about that. In fact, Cushite, Ethiopian, immense amount of disagreement.
I know I keep pausing it, but we'll touch on this. Ninja says it's almost as if having a priesthood that has answers to all these questions is preferable to every other layman arguing over it. Yes, but the problem is your infallibility with tradition. Would it be preferable? Yes, but it has its own issues that
an argumentation over that particular concept. A lot of people have come to the conclusion that Ethiopians simply meant people at the farthest reaches of the known world at that time. It's used poetically, so it's really hard to say.
Are you aware of the etymology that is given for the Greek in Little Scott? LSJ?
For what?
For Ethiopian.
I could look it up for you if you'd like me to.
Does God call the Israelites a stiff-necked people?
Yes, he certainly does, and then uses
does he do it
them
once
to write
or
a
more
great
than
deal
once?
of the Old Testament.
Does he do it once or more than once?
Many times.
Was Paul wrong to express the desire to be cut off from salvation, if thereby he could save members of his own race, in his words, his brothers according to the flesh?
Of course not.
When a man converts to Christianity, does he typically become biologically immortal, which is to say, in time, not in eternity?
No.
When a man converts to Christianity, does he typically regrow lost limbs?
Wow. I really hope we get back to the subject someday, but no, he doesn't.
When a man converts to Christianity, does he typically gain the ability to fly?
Could we get to something about the subject, please?
Please answer the question.
It's an absurd question.
Then it should be easy to answer.
Right, but I'm done with the absurd questions. Get to the questions that are relevant.
This is cross-examination. This is
No,
cross-examination.
no,
I
this,
get to ask
and it's in a
questions.
debate. So you're supposed to be asking
Correct.
about what I've said in the debate. I said
Well-
nothing about flying. This is a waste of everybody's time. It's a waste of the audience's time too. Please try to
I believe
respect
the audience, at least some of the audience, I believe some of the audience knows
I
exactly.
do agree.
I believe
Let's keep the questions on topic.
I believe
please.
he's answered it sufficiently. I was going to move on
Yeah,
anyway.
flying is not
Can
part of
Christ-
the debate.
Can Christ abandon or relinquish his humanity?
Abandon or relinquish his humanity?
Yes.
No, he's the God man. That's how we even have union with Christ. Is we are in Him, in as the second Adam. What does this have to do with the thesis?
Can God cease to exist?
No.
Can God commit moral
He was frustrating him intentionally, obviously.
Yeah.
But
All right.
I think
well,
the point
that's clearly the goal here.
Mm,
He
you can it's
in service of
multiple things.
establishing his
Yes,
points.
yes.
You know.
Here, we'll
with
finish
that
this
being
up.
said,
I think he cedes like 3 minutes here.
Can God, according to his divine nature, die?
No.
I assure you the questions are on topic because we are asking fundamentally about what God can and cannot do. And I'm asking questions about what God can do. Can God cease to be God?
No.
Can God lie?
No.
Can men get pregnant? Perhaps tying into your earlier comments about Africans and men and women.
No.
Can God make a man pregnant?
So please keep the questions on
I
topic.
assure you that I am asking questions
No,
about
you're
the
not, and
topic
everybody
itself.
knows it.
It's not.
You're
It's
not. Everybody knows
The
it.
question, the question fundamentally is, can God not? Is that a coherent thing
Okay,
to say?
so make your point. Ask questions relevant to the topic, please.
This is cross-exam. This is the function of. I am well aware of the function
Cross-examination
of
is about what I have
cross-examination.
said. Deal with what I've said. You're not doing that, and everybody sees it and knows it.
I am dealing with what you've said.
No, you're
Because
not.
your contention is that God can do this thing. My contention is that God cannot do this thing. And so it is important to establish there are in fact things God cannot do. And you and I both recognize that. You've already admitted that quite a number of times, but I think it's important to drive home the point, which is the entire point of cross-exam.
No, it's not.
I think everyone knows the answer to the question, so I'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, please do.
Is it true that platypodes are venomous?
I have no idea.
I'm willing for the court to take notice of that one. It's a well-known fact that the platypus is in fact venomous. I think I am going to relinquish the remaining 3 minutes after this one next question. One more lighthearted one. What is your favorite road bike?
What do you
Oh.
say?
What's your favorite road bike?
Okay, that's what I thought. That's funny.
I mean, it's cross-examination. It's not an opening statement. It's not a closing statement. It's cross-examination. He's just trying to establish, and also, it is Corey's tactic in a way to kind of get the opponent a little bit emotional because he is very reserved. If you don't, I mean, he is, and it comes off well, if you will. Let's see. There was a question. Rikovich said, what curses, failings, weaknesses, or particular passions are the Europeans susceptible to? Only answer when you have time. No need to stop the debate.
Excuse me. Lordy.
Josh, do you have one you want to throw?
What curses, failings, weaknesses, or particular passions are the Europeans susceptible to? Only answer when you have the time. No need to stop the debate. I do have one, and this is not. What's the opposite of a backhanded compliment? Kind of like a disingenuous insult. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Where I do not mean this as the opposite of a backhanded compliment. This is actually a hindrance. It is when Europeans are too considerate. Is that a good? Is that a?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
You're like
Hold on.
self-sacrificing, willing to
me see
kind
if
of
I
lay
can
down
find-
on the sword for the sake of others, and that is a Christly quality. But Christ was mercy and judgment. There comes a time when you do have to exercise judgment, and I think that's kind of like what we're seeing right now is that's why men and women, perfect example, they temper each other, they complete each other in a certain sense. Their natures are designed to balance, And the point is like what we're seeing now is an imbalance where the sort of forgiving at all costs is causing us problems because we're letting criminals out of jail. We're not punishing people that need to be punished. We're not punishing them in the way that they need to be punished. You know, you could say some guy holding up a gas station, or a perfect example, someone selling weed, you know? People go, oh, who are they hurting? They're actually hurting a lot of people. They're actually doing a really bad thing, and they do need to be in jail for a long time, decades even, for weed, yes. So I think that's a good example of a negative quality that Europeans have. And the point being is, I don't think it is a complete negative quality. I think it is a, what am I trying to say here? Where basically people have qualities, but they have multiple qualities. They have contradictory qualities, and there's a balance. You have to find the right balance. It doesn't mean that the quality in of itself is a negative thing, but if you have too much of it, it can delve into negativeness. You can't have too, you need a certain amount of sunlight. You can't have too little. You can't have too much. That would be something that Europeans tend to fall into, is the compassion, you know, the unwillingness to see, like, we have a shame-based culture, the unwillingness to accept that other people don't, and forgive them for things that they're doing wrong, and not correct that behavior, but only forgive. That's what I would say.
I mean, I would also stack it with like physical traits. Obviously, we're inferior in physical traits too. I mean, even like, I mean, I like to go to IQ a lot. I mean, Asians obviously have a higher IQ, a general intelligence than we do. This is undeniable across the board. So, I mean, I don't argue in inherent superiority. I would argue in attributable superiority, like specific attributes. People are obviously better. If we are different, then there is a necessary better. And then it is played out over time in cultures throughout history.
Well, and I think it's like all of the qualities that different peoples possess. It's not to say that like whites are better than Asians, Asians are better than whites, blacks are better than whites, whites are better than blacks. It's not really about that. It's what are whites better at? What are blacks better at? What are Asians better at? There is there is this sort of like balance amongst those cultures and whatnot. And it just, if your metric that you're going off of is quality of life, whites take the cake. They create civilizations that have a higher quality of life. That's not controversial to say, because Europe and America and even Russia have a higher quality of life than the rest of the world. So there you go.
Dude, I had a perfect tweet. I can't find it though, to kind of answer that question that you had.
A perfect tweet about to answer her question?
Yeah, there was a phrase they used that I can't.
What would you say? Ninja of Spades says, I disagree. I'm not sure. Well, to what part?
They might not even be talking to you. All right, let's see.
That's true. That's a good point.
Kineflex, my issue with Calvinism is that it can lead to those to neglecting to correct their own sins out of self-righteousness. Yeah, so Calvinism is a double predestination. I believe in predestination, but I don't believe in Calvinism, if that makes sense. So I believe in predestination without the double predestination.
That's a good debate. How do you define predestination biblically?
I guess, where do you want to start? Like, I believe that I almost hold a
do you think God
Molinistic view, like William Lane Craig does on God, and so therefore it necessarily means there's a predestination. God has a middle knowledge of the things that are going to happen, or that in his relative to him, it has already happened, but it's not necessarily a double predestination like Calvinism. Calvinism believes that everyone is chosen and all the chosen will be saved. And if you're not chosen, then you can't be saved. And Calvinism damns people without option.
So okay, I think we actually agree where it's basically God does not pick who gets into heaven, but he knows who would get into heaven.
Yes,
Okay.
essentially.
Yeah.
Let's see, boys. Oh, those people think. Rigovich, was that a sufficient enough answer that Josh gave? I would agree with him. Asian IQ overblown with bad samples. I think so too, but there is a position. It is substantiated when it's measured in the U.S. against other U.S. right. So the Asian countries selectively allow their students to take the test. So if they know you're going to get a bad IQ grade, then they don't allow you to take the test, and so it skews north of what it ought to be. But the samples in the U.S. are relatively trustworthy. Relatively.
I do think
Keno's
that they have a
what's up,
higher basic average intelligence, and it's like you said,
It's just
they're
it's a
better.
G.
They're better innovators, but they're not creators.
They see different cultures think differently, and I talked about this the other day when we talked about farmers. We think differently, not that we have different capacities. Even somebody that has the same IQ or same general intelligence thinks differently than another.
Right.
Right. Same thing with men and women. We think differently. I wish I could find, if I ever come across that video again, where there's a Chinese guy that kind of explains the Eastern thought process versus the Western thought process.
So much for the orbs, which I'm fine with. I'm enjoying
Baby
the
Uno
conversation.
says, why are you using atheist doctrine concept of identifying people by skin color to explain society when even the Bible doesn't explain people and nations by like this? Can the Ethiopian change his skin? The answer is obviously no. I mean, Corey we just went over that on the debate. The Bible definitely does identify people by skin color. Under Calvinism, no matter what I do. I guess this is more of a cultural thing than anything. It's just common vernacular. Like if you wish for me to say descendants of Europeans or descendants of Japheth, I mean I can do that too. But what's the point when white works perfectly fine? We can go to Genesis 9 real quick. Let's see. Why does this thing disconnect sometimes?
I never realized how laggy the mouse is.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Sometimes
I need to
hurry up, man.
hardwire in. Hold on, let me see if I can pull this up. We'll read it together, Rigovich. They kind of went over this. Corey had a debate with Samuel Say. I mean, I know this is a lot of Corey debate me bro topics right now, but I mean, it's relevant, right? So I guess that's just what we're gonna do, and it makes the point. The Samuel Say debate did exactly this, right? So we were talking about. Let me see if I can zoom in for you. I don't think that worked. Did it? Good enough. It's like 20. Sons of Noah. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the three sons. Noah, from them came the people who were scattered over the earth. Noah, a man of soul, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank from his wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked backward to cover their father's naked body. Their faces turned to the other way so that they would see their father naked. They would not see their father naked. When Noah woke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done to him, he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves. He will be to his brothers." He said, Praise be to the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend Japheth's territory. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Japheth. After the flood of Noah lived 350 years. Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. That is NIV. If we go to the KJV, it's even more specific. Bear with me. Hold on. Where are we at? And these are the three sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be a husband, and he planted a vineyard, and he drank of the wine, and he was drunk. And he was uncovered with his tent, and Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of the father, and told his two brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon their shoulders, and went backwards to cover the nakedness of their father. Their faces were backwards, and they saw not their father's nakedness. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done to him. He said, Cursed be Canaan, the servant of servants, he shall be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and the days of Noah were 950, and he died. I mean, this is the story. This is the history of the world. I mean, in the plainest terms, as almost as simple as you could get it, right? The sons of Noah split. You have Japheth, which is the, you have Canaan or Ham. These are the same thing. In this context, these are the same thing, which is curse. These are Africans, right? So, and then Shem and Japheth are blessed, which Asians and Europeans are. Relatively speaking, given the history of the world. Ham had sex with his mother. Did he?
I don't
Do you
know enough
remember
about
that?
this topic.
I don't remember reading that one.
I don't remember reading that one either. I'm not saying it ain't in there.
It might be.
Was it consensual?
Yeah, I don't remember reading that one. Hopefully that answers your question. I mean, there's other places in Scripture where it says, where it kind of lays out curses and blessings on generations, but this is the primary one. Can you show me Scripture where it identifies people by their skin or continents?
It says the nations.
Yeah, give me a second.
Yeah, this one's on you. I'm not as well versed in this discussion like
Where's the
you
search
and Corey Mahler are.
I'm
You gotta
not.
go
Where's
to
that would be?
Genesis, go to Genesis 9, and then just type in what you want to look for. That's the search bar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was I gonna search?
I don't know.
I'm blanking now. I just said it. Oh, the skin.
Can the Ethiopia be in Chanjaskinia?
Jeremiah 13:23. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then may ye also be good, that they are accustomed to do evil. There, I don't know how many you want. There's more. But I mean, that's not really the point. The point isn't necessarily skin color. This is just common vernacular that we use to denote things. I mean, this should be understood. I'm not saying that skin color determines everything. I'm saying we are wearing jerseys, and I cannot. I'm white, and my wife is white, so we are not going to have a black baby. It's just not possible naturally.
Well,
right? And this is the argument that Corey was making against nature.
Like, basically, I mean, and this is even obvious to most people, like that people have a nature, people have a temperament, despite the fact it's not mainstream to say now. That was obvious. And that's why, like, the Bible doesn't say race realism is true explicitly. It's like that, where it's like, can the leopard change its spots? Can the Ethiopian change his skin? This was common knowledge for all time up until, like, 100 years ago?
Yeah,
it's not going to be said explicitly in the same way the Bible doesn't say water is wet.
Yeah, Ninja's right here. Nations were also identified by beliefs. Ancient nations had genetics, culture, and religion all wrapped up in one. And I would say one of the more binding things was language. Right, so we could go back to the Tower of Babel, the splitting of nations. right? All of these people spoke different languages. They split up into different nations. The nations and the language were the common. And from that, you have a amplification of the genetics within the people that spoke the language, right? If I have somebody that has a large nose and another person that has a large nose, they speak the same language and they go their own separate way. Over generations, all of their children will have large noses. That's just how nature and genetics work. If they have white skin, their children are going to be white, and their children white, and their children white, until you introduce something that is not white. Right? This is the argument that Corey was making. God cannot do a thing that is against nature without supernatural means. Why Canaan is that's why Canaan is cursed for bloodline. Yeah. Interesting. Can you prove that Africans are descendants of Ham? Yes, but probably not right now.
I was gonna ask. That's the thing I'm not really caught up on.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be able to do it right now. You're gonna make me Google it. I want to listen a little bit more of this.
That's what I
you
see.
accept
It's a
those,
wickedness.
those claims. Okay, all right.
Corey, it is your turn for your 10-minute cross-examination. We will start the timer now. All right.
Let's return for a moment to the conceptualization of
Before we get
saving
going
faith as a
too much,
conscious.
knock these last two out. Origovich said, have to study languages, spend a day researching the terms, saw his father nakedness means sexual relations, and as wife is considered one with husband. Yeah, I mean, largely it's irrelevant to the point. The point being that two sons were blessed and the other was going to be his servant, right? And God cursed him for their generations. The reason it happened, I'm not saying it is irrelevant, but to this discussion it is. I don't agree with it.
And honestly, I think that's a bit of a stretch.
New Testament says avoid genealogies. What is your take on that? The New Testament is what you're referencing is when it was calling into the pagans. They were trying to leverage their genealogies against each other to say that they were more righteous than some of the others because of genealogy.
You have to put it in context.
If I'm correct, it was Paul in Corinthians, I believe. He was speaking to the pagans or the pagan converts, if you will, that were trying to say, my genealogy is this, therefore I'm more righteous. And that's just not correct.
Trust.
I'll have to find that too.
When you conceive of saving faith as a conscious trust, does that not require that man have a certain capacity to develop such a thing as a conscious thought?
The gospel is the message of what God has done in Jesus Christ, and he communicates it to people on every level, to the incredibly intelligent person with the 160 IQ, and I've seen him communicate it to the person with Down syndrome. How that works functionally in the brain, I can't even begin to understand, but I've seen it happen, and I trust the word of God at that point.
I'm glad that we actually agree on that one, because I've also known some severely mentally handicapped individuals who are nevertheless very staunch Christians. That's certainly a great gift of God. Was God wrong to tell Abram that he would make of him a great nation?
We go again. No.
What is the word used for nation in the Greek there?
I could look it up for you. Probably ethnos, but I don't have it in front of me at the moment.
Do you happen to know the Latin root of the word nation?
Are we talking about ethnos or
in this,
I'm not sure
in this case, nation? The word nation. Do you know the Latin root of the word nation? Obviously not ethnos, which is Greek.
Right. No.
Do you think that it was wrong, returning to my earlier question about Paul wanting to be cut off for the sake of his own brothers according to the flesh, do you think it was wrong for him to care more for his own race than for those of another race? Because he didn't say he wanted to be cut off for the Greeks. He said he wanted to be cut off for his fellow Jews, those who were his brothers according to blood, according to the flesh.
Well,
is that wrong?
Except that he also, likewise, at the same time, is the apostle to the Gentiles, not the apostle to the Jews. So he was very balanced. But his point was that he wanted those who possess the word of God to believe the promises of God. And even though they had been persecuting him, he wanted them to hear and understand and come to know their own Messiah.
But was it wrong for him to care more for his own race?
I don't think he cared more because he gave his life to bring the gospel to the Gentiles. So,
did he not give his life to bring gospel to the Gentiles because God specifically commanded him? That was not his choice, certainly, to be blinded on the Damascus road, correct?
I'm certain that the Spirit of God gave him the love that he needed for that task as well.
Was it his choice or God's choice that he be the apostle to the Gentiles?
That was God's choice.
Was Paul wrong when he boasted in his lineage with regard to being a Jew according to whom God had given the oracles of God, from whom the prophets had come, and from whom the Christ descended?
No, there, as he says in Romans, there were great benefits to the people of God. All the things were given to them. And of course,
Chat, sorry. I got a story.
Pretty
Chat,
good.
listen. Chat, listen, chat. I got a story, right? And I was tired, and so I took a Celsius packet and I shoved it into the story and I downed it. Energy in a can, boys. Energy in a can.
I need to try. Oh, I still got some more. Hold on.
Energy in a can. Do you think morality is tied with intelligence? I think the question is, do I believe it is easier to be more moral the smarter you are?
I would say no.
I think the answer is no also.
I would say no. And not even getting nitpicky and
I
saying,
think the word is
being
the word is
smarter
actually the word would be intellect, but yes.
I would even say like being intelligent, if that's the only factor, you're more likely to be immoral. I mean, honestly,
No, so here's the I guess the question would be, is
I think it takes a
lower
village.
intelligence a causation, or sorry, is low impulse control a causation from lower intelligence? I think that's the link you have to make if you're going to make the argument for yes. The low impulse control is where it's going to be driven. But I'm not entirely sure they're linked.
but here's the thing: is it's like you get people like
I'm taking this
I've
as a
known people-
generality, not a
Right.
specific.
I've known people who are like some of the most devout Christians I've ever met, who were devout, and I mean devout meaning like they weren't like showy, but they practice, you know, they were continually being sanctified, but like there's, you know, they just like weren't the brightest bulbs in the building, but it was almost like that naivete that is what made their faith so strong. Like they were fearlessly going and
It's
preaching
like,
the gospel.
It's almost like you're arguing the bell curve. A little bit.
Kinda, where it's like like the bell curve where it's like the dumbest people, the absolute dumbest people are like God real, and then the absolute smartest people are like there is
Augustine.
a creator to the universe, you know,
Yeah.
basically like that.
Yeah, I think.
But you can have where you have people.
I think the answer
are
outright
such-
is
yeah.
no, with caveats. And
Yes.
those caveats being what would entail intelligence? Does that encompass? What's the word? Encompass. Wow, encompass low low impulse
that
control.
was a surfer dude laugh if I've ever heard one.
Rigovich says severely
Crazy.
intellectually disabled daughter. Jesus loves Jesus and Mary.
Yeah,
That was in
that
response
doesn't mean it's
to-
ingenuine or non-genuine.
Oh,
Disingenuous.
yeah. I think they actually address this in the discussion too, and they both agree that mental disability doesn't mean that you can't be justified in Christ. I mean, they both agree on that position. Pretty pertinent to why Canaan's line was cursed and the inquiry in the bloodline. The Orthodox Church and many early church fathers knew this thousands of years ago. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not true, and it quite possibly could be. This is in reference to Ham sleeping with his mother. I just haven't dove that deep, maybe because I'm not Orthodox, and I've been deprived of tradition in my Southern Baptistness of 30 years. Baby says, why can't they just stick to English when they can't speak Greek unless they believe the word of God is only perfect in one language? The issue comes when words in other languages convey concepts that you can't convey in English, right? We go back to this love definition. There's words in Hebrew like chutzpah that there's no real word. You would have to string a paragraph together to get the concept across. So
What is chutzpah?
Chutzpah is
Chutzpah. Who's the Jew now? You got the
chutzpah. That's the most Jewish sound you can make.
I know.
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah.
Chutzpah is
You say it so naturally.
chutzpah. I've done it a few times, Josh.
You've done chutzpah?
Yeah, I'm a professional racist, dude. You didn't know that?
Oh, is that what that means?
No.
I don't know.
Chutzpah is, I guess if I had to boil it down, it would be a pride and shamelessness with the willingness to do whatever in that shamelessness for selfishness. That's a lot strung together. Does that make sense?
Pursuit of selfish means shamelessly.
With aggressive balls.
Oh,
gonads.
So it's like you've got big balls. I get what you're saying. Where it's like you, like, man, you're ballsy in your whatever you're doing is completely selfish and basically like it's almost like a joke.
It's retarded, and you're doing it anyway. You're prideful about it.
Yeah.
But see, that's like, I mean, that's a singular word that I can convey a concept to someone else that understands the concept. But I would also say just because I understand it, I have the knowledge of the thing, doesn't mean I fully understand it. Like I don't think I could ever portray, I could ever have chutzpah, right? I don't think I could ever get to that point. I think it's bred into people. I think that's a genetic aspect, like we were talking about earlier, where this concept of maintenance is going to take generations to get into people's minds, right? Where chutzpah, it would take generations. If I don't know, if my son married a Jewish woman and then they have kids into a Jewish family, it would still take multiple generations for that to come as a concept into action, rather than just an understanding or a knowledge of the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Maybe, hopefully that answers your question, baby. Baby, you know. Sorry, Chad. I got something in my throat today, boys. It's probably that story backed up. Then it says saying yes leads to narcissism. This is in reference to morality through intelligence. Yeah, I think the answer is no, but there's a caveats on the back end of what it's tied to with respect to, like I said, one instance would be like there's something like the warrior gene. It just leads to more aggression, or and is the warrior gene tied to intelligence? I don't know. I mean, there's multiple warrior genes, but the primary one. And then is a higher intelligence gene tied to low impulse control, or lower intelligence tied to a lower impulse control, right? These genes work together. Baby Una says, why do people go to the church fathers as a source of infallible truth when only the Bible is infallible and the church fathers believed and did and said questionable, unbiblical things? Bible isn't enough. Because they're Orthodox, and so they hold that tradition to a substantially higher standard, to almost infallibility. I guess it depends on which specific tradition we're talking about. I guess a lot of them came over from Andrew Wilson.
Well, and I also think it's worth noting that I'm pretty sure you and I agree on this. It's not like we've talked about it because neither of us are Catholic or Greek Orthodox, you know. But when you have when you have churches where you have these basically titles, like these positions where you are a church father, it's like, I think when the Bible describes church fathers, it's describing people that are, you know, preachers, leaders, pastors, whatever you want to call it, that are genuinely representing Christ. But the thing is the Catholic Church and Orthodoxy, it's a title. It is like something you earn, like being a senator or being a congressman, you know? So you can actually get people that achieve the title, but are not being effective representatives of Christ. So I don't think that's really the question that they're asking, but I do think that is an important distinction to make.
I think Laughing Dog is Catholic. Priest and Pope are only completely infallible in a few situations. Yeah, they make that argument. I I mean,
And
I
I'm
think
not
the papacy
saying-
is
I'm
a
not
lot, but
saying-
also Orthodoxy and even some Protestant denominations believe that there is a ongoing chain of priesthood.
Well, yeah, and I want to make it, yeah, which I'm not, I don't really agree with that either. I could be convinced. I don't think it's right though. But I want to be clear. I wasn't making any statement about the Catholic faith. I didn't say that even the Catholics believe the Pope is infallible. What I'm saying is there have been examples of people, not prominent church fathers, but even like pastors, preachers that are completely antithetical to the Christian faith, but they still have the title.
Yeah, Rigovich, I don't think it was like specifically in reference to you. I think it was just more of a general mention from some of the just general Orthodox talk we have. I mean, if we're gonna have chat that's pretty Orthodox, I need to do a decent dive so I can understand a little bit more. Baby Uno ask, do you believe in the gay sodomite gene? Are people born that way, in your opinion?
Nope.
To the first question, no. To the second question, yes. I don't believe in the gay sodomite gene. There's no literature to say that there is, though I do think there is a predisposition for certain peoples to be more sexually degenerate.
Like twinks are more likely to be gay.
I don't think they're born gay, right? I don't think people are born murderers. We're born in sin, but I don't think you're born gay. I think that kind of follows in that people just have certain predispositions to things, and gay is one of those things.
I think.
Right,
it's
I was watching a video.
a
I was watching a video
combination.
earlier where this dude was had life-changing money. Like he had 9 digits in his bank account, and he gambled it all the way because he was a degenerate gambler. Like those people were just predisposed to gambling for some reason. I think it's genetic, yes, but I don't know if it's a gene, if it's epigenetic or what. But yeah, I do.
Well, I think.
Sorry, finish your.
Yeah. I think
I cut Josh off all the time. Like right now,
it's very
Chad,
clinical.
I cut Josh off.
It's very clinical. It's very clinical. We're basically like, one of my sisters, she had this friend that was just very effeminate. He was a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone thought he was gay, and he insisted he wasn't. And then one day he goes, okay, yeah, I'm actually gay. And then everyone goes, see, I was right. And I think it's actually I think he was naturally effeminate. Like he wasn't doing a gay voice.
Yep.
And his voice wasn't even like the super gay voice. Like he just kind of had a higher voice. He was very skinny. His wrists were very flimsy. And I think he was born that way. But the thing is when the people, and people pick up on this, when the people around you think you're gay, then you start to think you're gay. And then you can given time, you can convince yourself that it's true. And then you basically experiment a little bit, and it's just this domino effect. I don't think you started gay. I think the physiognomy was the first domino that led down the track.
I think so too. I think there's a little bit of a trend of uniqueness. Like people want to be unique. They want to stand out. And then that kind of lends into the same kind of concept that you're arguing for. Kinoflex said, basically asked the question that you just answered. Rigovich said, I'm the only Orthodox here. I know for a fact Ninja's Ortho too. Ninja's Orthodox. Rigovich, y'all can have a little chat about Orthodoxy. Anyway, I was wrong in regards to the Orthodox Church and early fathers teaching this interpretation. If you did. Yeah. I've never come across it, so I would think that. I mean, I haven't read everything, but I don't think it's necessarily true. I also wouldn't place it on a shelf and leave it there. I mean, I think that's something that probably could be and should be tackled. Pope Leo seems like a good pick from what I'm hearing. Very hardline conservative Catholic. I think we're hearing different things, man.
Yeah, that's not what I've heard.
I think Laughing Dog is Catholic. So, but the problem is with Catholics and the picking of the Pope is they're obligated to speak well of the Pope. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there. Like you would have been better off with the Black Pope, whatever his name was, Cardinal or something.
Was he super conservative?
He was, yeah, he's the most conservative. From what I was reading, the most conservative cardinal that was being tossed up. But Pope Leo's pro-immigration. Well, all Catholics are because they deny nationhood. Will there be deports in Missouri?
Probably not.
What's going on in Missouri?
Don't know, but I know
Probably not.
But I know that the deportations aren't happening in general. So why would they be happening in Missouri?
That's a good point, Josh. That's a good point, dude. Where are we at? Maybe a couple 100,000. We need to be at like a couple 100 million. That's where we need to be at.
I saw a clip from Nick in the about the Tom Homan thing, where basically Tom Homan was saying, you know. And Nick was where he was like the illegal immigrant communities, you know. And Nick's point, which I agree with, is like, but it's not their community; it's our community that they have invaded.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. Tom Homan, we brought that up really briefly yesterday, and he said something to the effect of the immigrants need to be coddled in their communities. It's like no, they need to go, dude. Let's see. Baby Una says, I thought the Bible perspective sodomites are given over to a reprobate mind, go against nature, and are called children of the devil. And Christian history agreed with this until the last 50 years.
It's kind of like people like sodomite. When it's talking about sodomites, I'm sure they're referring to people that are unapologetically.
They identify as gay. Yeah, it's right.
Yes.
It's like
when it says they've been given over, it's not making a statement about like objectivity. It's saying they have given themselves over because they are unrepentant in their sin.
They identify as gay. This is why. This is why people say they're a gay Christian. Well, no, you're not, because you are in that instance identifying as gay. And that identification of gay nullifies your ability to call yourself or identify as a Christian.
Right.
I mean, I don't know that the specific instance that we're talking about here, but I think I think we're close enough there. Anyway, should be a lot of illegals here. There should be zero illegals here.
And I read that comment.
Kim, welcome.
What I think he's trying to say is should be a lot of illegals here.
Okay.
The deportations. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Grammar is key.
Welcome to the stream, though, Kim. Is it? I'm assuming it's a Kim woman.
Probably.
Welcome.
Or
we'll take it.
Kim Cheryl.
Maybe
he's an Asian.
I guess Kim is a unisex name, isn't it? I know a female Kim. I don't know I guess Kim Jong Un, Kim Jong Il. God,
clearly. I'm starting to think he's Chinese with the grammar going on here.
God ended the world once because of gays. Are you saying that he flooded the earth because of degeneracy, sexual degeneracy? Well, it says only evil always.
This is a problem you see in the church where like people take it way too literally. It's like
Josh doesn't believe in a global flood, first of all.
Kim's a woman. Okay. That's true. I could be convinced, but I don't think seashells.
Shame. Chat, shame Josh. Tell him shame.
I can take it.
He doesn't believe in a global flood. Kimberly. Welcome, Kimberly. Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah.
That wasn't, but yeah. Okay. Because
do you deny it was because they were gay?
Well, that's what I was saying is like, she said in the world, but Sodom and Gomorrah was not destroying the world. It was destroying Sodom and Gomorrah. So we both assumed she was talking about Noah.
Right.
And there is a reference to degeneracy, and I think it mentions sodomy. I don't recall, but it's like one of those things where...
In Noah or Sodom?
In Noah.
Okay. I was about to say.
But in Sodom and Gomorrah, it was definitely talking about sodomy. That's where the word comes from.
Right. Yeah. No, guys, it literally says God gave them over. God gave them up to the vile affections. So doesn't it imply their desire after evil desires, and eventually God just let them go there fully?
Okay, but but what does it mean for God to give them up to it? Does that mean that they were born into it, or that like because it's like you know, when we talk about what does blasphemy of the Holy Spirit mean? Does that mean if you at one point said I don't believe in the Holy Spirit, but then convert later, you're unconvertible? Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is an active sin. It is to never repent. Essentially, it is to never be justified. And I think it means the same thing when it comes to these verses. You know, it's like, yeah, God gave them over to their sin because they were unrepentant, because they made no effort to be better. So he made no effort to save them.
I'd have to read Romans 1 again. I mean, it could very well mean something to the effect of a hardened heart to the point where God just kind of gave up, almost like Luther did when he writes about on the Jews and their lies. He writes really deep into the concept that the Jews were impossible to witness to because they already had hardened hearts, and they just rejected God through Luther outright, or through Luther's witness. And he was like, he gave up essentially. I think there's probably a concept there that could be played on. This is also the grift with queer identities, where it is just applied to people broadly to indoctrinate people. It is vague on purpose for this reason. This is also the grift with queer identities, where it's just applied to people broadly to indoctrinate people. Yeah, I mean, if you give something a label, it validates.
Yeah,
dude.
Maybe the Starry and Celsius combo was a bad call.
It wasn't enough. I need another one. Give me another one.
yeah, where it's like there's a Norm Macdonald bit on that, where it's like, when he's like, you ever hear the term cisgender? It sounds like they're just marginalizing being normal. And, you know, it's like basically for you to have all these categories for fags, and then to put normal people into a category, it invalidates being normal.
You remember
put
that?
it into a category.
You might not remember. You might not have been on Twitter then. But there was this like major push for like super straight. Like they made a flag and kind of pushed it out. It was orange and black. It was like super straight. Tried to reintroduce themselves into the LGBTQ and kind of take that over as super straight.
I
thought that was pretty funny. Good times, boys. Good times. All major tribal lines in Genesis are defined by blessing or curse. Cain marked preserved, but ultimately a curse. Ends in the flood. Seth, the pure line through which God will work. Ham, Canaan, corrupted, usurping ancestrous lines, set in contrast to Shem. Ishmael's Isaac, Esau versus Jacob, same structure. Yeah, I mean, almost, yeah, everything is, all of the genealogies is a testament to curse or blessing in Genesis. It literally says blasphemy of the Holy Spirit was to say Jesus was casting demons using the power of Satan. To technically, no one can really blaspheme the Holy Spirit. No. Blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is a rejection of God, right? It's the only unforgivable sin. The only unforgivable sin is to reject the Creator.
Right. It's like what I said earlier. If a person, when they're young, if they're in an atheist family and they say, I blaspheme the Holy Spirit, ha ha, look at me, and then they convert to Christianity later, it's not like they're going to be kept out. I'm about to sneeze. Holy crap.
Baby Uno, what is your denomination or Orthodox Catholic, if you don't mind? They were likely doing some South African stuff. Probably in reference to the flood. I was Pentecostal. Don't know if I spelled it right. Yeah, yeah, that's not spelled right. To be honest, I don't know how to spell it right now either, so I'm not even going to try.
Daniel, we've been live for about an hour and a half.
What's up, brother? What time live stream began? We always go live at 2:30. I usually give it anywhere from 5 to 10 minute buffer. Josh, you want to do a live show? You want to do a solo show Tuesday?
I was thinking about that because I also wanted to tell you I need to get back in the gym, dude. I went back in the gym.
You
gotta
got
get back in
time,
the gym,
dude. If
fat
you want to
ass.
get back into the gym, I know. If you want to get back into the gym, you got to quit work. Them's the rules. I don't make them.
Tuesday. So
I'm non-denom. Okay, Baptist. Cool.
I think. Yeah, I mean, I can do Tuesdays.
Well, I'm just this Tuesday.
Just this Tuesday?
I mean, you can do the follow-on Tuesdays. I was just thinking this Tuesday because I'm going to be out.
Oh, you want me to
Kinda
like cover
feel-
for you
yeah, feel for,
essentially?
like,
yeah,
2:30.
sure. That's fine.
I might drop in for a second or two. Daniel said the Jews were stiff-necked. Yes. Unlike Kamala,
Kamalala.
she's chicken-necked. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I
all
get it.
Cretans are
That's funny.
liars. Jews are stiff-necked. I mean, it's very generalized in the Bible. They generalize on attributes of people groups all throughout. It's I mean, that's understood. And people that want to deny that or deny that, like E. Michael Jones wants to deny that race exists. He says it's a social construct, but then he says something, I don't know, something about Rodney was supposed to be here today, boys. He flaked on us, and he's fishing right now. He just sent me a picture of all his fish. I'm gonna throw it up there. Actually, let me do this. I'm gonna show y'all Rodney's fish he was catching.
Keno Flex says Super Straight was funny, but I agree with Matt Walsh, who said it's an unintentional concession. That's exactly right. I had a coworker that was gay a few years ago when I was an intern for them on a radio show. And he was gay, and he was talking about like pride parades. He knew I was Christian, and he was saying, he's like, I don't have any problem with Christians. I think straight people should have pride parades too. And I was like, I mean, I don't really think so, because that's to like marginalize, to minimize being straight. It almost like to celebrate being normal. It's unnecessary.
I always interrupt Josh when he starts talking. I'm sorry.
You could
Josh.
just not do that anymore.
Chat. This is Rodney's fish. He's fishing right now. He's supposed to be on stream with us. So shame Rodney real quick. Shame. When you flog him. I'm not even on
He
camera.
put his ankle in
Let's go
there
flog him.
for context.
Did he? I don't know. I was just looking at the fish. Josh, why are you looking at his ankle?
I was trying to
he's
see how
probably in a
big the
kayak.
fish are.
Oh, he's in a kayak. Oh, he's kayak fishing. Let's go, dude. That's pretty cool. You had activists saying it was straight to... I've seen a resurgence in this too, where these people were coming out and saying, I sleep with a transgender, but I'm not gay. It's like,
It's gay.
yeah, you
You're
are.
gayer
That's
than I am.
pretty gay. That's about the most gay you can be. Does that mean stubborn, stiff-necked? Yes.
Yes.
Too many medical issues when race and mix isn't a concept. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, this is just...
You see these
just
lines here?
is what it is. What?
See these like lines?
It's a
in the
reflection.
finish. I can kind of see that. It looked like a handprint or
Oh,
something. Is he good at cooking fish? Is he? I don't know. I don't know Rodney like that.
I'm going to tell him to bring me some after he cooks them. We don't get to put emojis up, dude. They come across like this. That's an
Oh.
emoji. Was it?
I was
Fish,
like, huh?
orange, wide eyes. Oh, like a goldfish? Okay. Cool. Nice fish. Let's see. Jesse Lee Peterson initiated a White History Month in July because July just feels white. Yeah. Dude, Jesse Lee Peterson's
He's funny.
hilarious, dog. All right, Josh, what did I got some other stuff. Let's throw some of this other stuff up real quick and we can kind of react to it. Chat, keep building up some questions for us and we'll get back to them. Sorry. They're probably just staring at my face. Eeny, meeny, miny. This one? Let's go.
Doo-doo caca. Sing a little song.
Oh, this ain't original. Sorry. Hold on. 1 second.
That's Rabbi Shmuley's daughter.
Is it?
Is it not? Maybe
it might
not.
be. I don't know.
I think it is.
It
me
might
look that
be. Sorry, chat. Bear with me 1 second. Boom. Let's try this one. Is there no audio? There's no audio.
Way with your unholy prayers.
Something nice about Rabbi Shmuley.
I will pray for him. I will pray for his conversion into Christianity.
Go away with your unholy prayers. We don't want them. These Catholic extremists have been trying for 2,000 years to make us Jews Christian. But for 2,000 years, we Jews literally chose to have our throats slit and to be burned alive in public rather than convert to Christianity. It's not ever going to happen. We don't want it. It's the chutzpah that really gets me. These Catholic...
It's the chutzpah, Josh.
There it is.
It's the chutzpah.
Jew haters study our Torah. They worship a Jew. They appropriated the entire Jewish story. They're the new chosen people. They are the new Israel. They have a New Testament. 90% of their religion comes from our religion. And they have the chutzpah to tell us Jews how to be religious. I'll pray for you to convert. You celebrate our holidays. Get the hell out of here. Right now, everyone is focused on Islamist Jew hatred, understandably so, but Catholic Jew hatred made a living hell for 2,000 years. And it's back, my friends.
I think
that was probably echoey. I'm sorry, Chad,
think
if it was echoey.
Jewish behavior, Jewish religion made Jewish life hell for 2,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's never, there's no internal self-assessment, no accountability. It's just, it's the chutzpah, Josh.
Okay,
It's
so
the chutzpah.
long story short, chutzpah means balls.
Yeah. Kinda.
Very long story short. Yeah, where it's like
shameless. It's shameless
the
gall.
the unmitigated gall.
I don't know what that word means, but sure.
The chutzpah. Jews abandon the faith. Yeah, that is also, and we've talked about this before, but
yes,
you know, this is when we were screaming into the void because we didn't have an audience, where there's this idea that Christianity is a deviation of Judaism, when it's actually, that's not true. Christianity is the fulfillment of Old Testament Judaism. And so here's Judaism, here's Jesus, here's the continuation. I mean, it's the new covenant, but this is the faith. Modern day Judaism is the deviation. And it's clear because they don't even practice the same things in the Old Testament as it exists.
Well, when Jesus came around, they started putting together their Talmud.
Yep.
Right? And so this is the deviation.
Yeah, they practice the Talmud. What's the other one I'm thinking of?
The other Talmud.
There's two Talmuds?
Yeah.
What's the... There's something else, though. Why can't I remember it? I feel like it's... No, not Torah. Not the Torah. Not the Torah. Is it Caliphate? Or no.
Caliphate is Muslim.
No. What's the word I'm leaning? Kabul.
Oh, the Kabbalah?
The Kabbalah. I think that comes from after Jesus. I know the Talmud definitely does.
Keith, welcome. Everybody has melanin. Yeah, but it's not about melanin, right? It's the genes that are the underlying genes themselves.
Where does the melanin come from?
I mean, just on a height gene, there's 18 genes that are correlated with height. So it's not that a single gene does a single thing. It's exactly the opposite of that, right? There's I think there's 6 genes that are associated with skin color that they find, and this is across a couple thousand that they've run tests on. Jim, welcome. I don't know if this is a Jim I know, but if you're first time here, we're glad to have you. With autism, it was always black kids who tormented me for around 8 years, with the teacher, student never helping me. I don't see why I'm a bad person for wanting safe zones to live with my own people. Yeah, this is correct. There's also another issue that isn't really talked about, is the amount of black kids in special ed. When I was in middle school, you had white kids and black kids in special ed, but the black kids weren't really retarded. They were just dumb. That's a serious statement.
I know.
I'm not trying to be funny or anything.
No, yeah. And that's the thing is we're not even saying this to be mean. We're saying it almost clinically. This is just what we witnessed, or what you witnessed. And
yeah,
but I know what you're talking about.
There's a difference between being extremely dumb and retarded. Mm-hmm. Retarded medically, technically retarded. I mean, well, I know that word's kind of been thrown around recently.
Here's something I've noticed too: is I grew up my dad was a doctor, and I went to all Christian private schools. And I had, like, obviously there were much less black people in those schools than white people, but all the black people in my like private Christian schools were like, and not to be flippant here, but the good ones, you know what I mean? And so my experience growing up, it was just like, look, we're all the same. We're all cut from the same cloth. Then when I got into the working force, then when I got a job.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, I intentionally, so I sold 2 businesses to start doing this, and we intentionally, maybe I'm telling on myself a little bit here. How do I say this? Avoided specific types of people just because they wouldn't pay. I mean, there was a pattern. I tried for 2 or 3 years to work with them. And so it came to a point where either you pay up front or we don't do business with you, when we had a built-in kind of a finance program where you pay monthly. And so we would come across these certain types of people that eventually, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 months in, they would just stop paying, and they would expect the thing to just keep rolling. So we had to start doing pay up front, pay as you go. I think I saw a video the other day where some black women were getting mad at the restaurant for making them pay in advance. Like, I think at some point the restaurant has to look out for itself. You know, I can't give you free food for you to dine and dash, dude.
Oh yeah.
The service industry, if you ever want to find somebody race bill, dude, go find a server. They understand.
Oh,
bad.
Yeah. And also it's like, it does kind of suck, but it's one of those things where it's like, what's the thing I'm looking for here? Like, if that happened to me where they wanted me to pay before we actually got the food, I would be like, huh, what? But I would get it, you know, like, why are you freaking out unless you were?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Josh, because you're a little bit younger. You used to be able to get gas and then go inside and pay for it afterwards. Like, I could fill up my gas tank and then go pay for it.
I didn't know that.
You can't do that anymore. A lot of places you can't even pump your own gas.
I didn't. I swear to God, I had no idea.
Really?
Like, because even in the 50s, they had people pump your gas for you.
So I'm 30, so this was like 15 years ago. Yeah, I mean, credit cards and debit cards weren't really around like that, and so you would pump your gas and then you go pay cash inside. But now you can't do that. You always have to pay before you.
Okay, that definitely had to be a Florence, South Carolina thing, because that was not going on in Charlotte. I mean, I've been driving for 10 years.
I guarantee you it was.
Maybe, I'm sure, but not 15 years ago.
Okay. Oh, you mean they were already making you pay up front?
By the time, maybe here, but in Charlotte, there's no way. Baby Uno says, being dumb depends on upbringing, environment, and economic class.
We'll dive into race and IQ. I don't really want to kind of knock that out here in a minute. I'm gonna probably get off. Josh can keep on going if he wants to. It'd probably be preferable to anyway. But I'm gonna jump off of here in a second.
What do you got to get done?
I'm gonna go play with the baby.
You gotta go.
We're gonna do things while the sun's still up. Sam, welcome to the stream. First time seeing you. Given that historically 80% of women but only 40% of men have reproduced due to male competition and polygamy, would waiting till marriage disadvantage the males reproductively today with dating now? The answer is kind of yes, but it shouldn't be. That doesn't make it good, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Josh? I don't even know if you agree with the yes part.
No. And it has to do with nature versus morality, where what we have, and people often get the two confused. What we have now is this over-reliance and this over worship of like feminism, basically, where masculinity is put down, you know? But we have the masculine nature is to pursue as many sexual partners as possible. That might be natural, but that doesn't make it good. What's happening is the left and the liberation of women, women and everything. What it's done is it's put down masculinity as a whole, but people aren't smart enough to basically realize. It's like, if you see something is leaning a certain way and you realize you're wrong, people have a tendency to overcorrect.
Yep.
And that's what's going on now is, yes, it is natural for men to want to have as much sex with as many people as possible, but that doesn't make it right.
To caveat on top of that, on top of Josh's, grace perfects nature, right? So if it's natural to have children, as many children you want to, nature or grace would be being married and then having those children. Just to kind of give a little caveat there. I'm not. We'll knock that down another day. Or no. Sorry.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot, especially recently. I'm sure like some of our regulars are probably sick to death of hearing it.
They were called service station. A guy would pump your gas, clean the windshield, and return. We still have a couple of those here, but even in South Carolina, I would say like prior to 2010, you could pump your gas by yourself and then go pay for it after you filled up. But we do still have a few service stations. One's called We Pump You Pay. I know in Dillon, pay before you pump happened when I was in high school.
You do have those, and in Dillon especially.
Yeah, it's called We Pump You Pay. I think it's still running. It's very old. The intention, like states have service stations, mandated service stations. Some states you can't even pump your own gas. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah. Some states you are not allowed to pump your own gas.
Like where?
Illinois, I think, is one. You're not allowed to pump your own gas.
I need to see it to believe it, dude. This is so like fantastic that I just don't believe it. Computer, help us, computer. There we go. Which states are you not allowed?
New Jersey, Oregon, where it's illegal for drivers to pump their own gas. This regulation has been in place since 1949 with the aim of job creation. Yeah, that's what I was going to get at in a second. It's just like legislating against AIing truckers, right? It destroys people's livelihoods, or
you're telling
it takes away jobs.
Well,
from hardworking peoples.
Well, and help me out.
Chat can't even see it. I'm sorry, chat. Here.
I've never been to Oregon or New Jersey. You're telling me that every single gas station there has a person
at the pump.
Are you serious?
Yes.
I swear to God, I had no idea that was the case.
It used to be a lot more than this.
That's crazy.
It used to be a lot more than this. Colorado used to be one. Illinois used to be one. I mean, they must have just kind of changed this recently. On some of those,
really
it
cool,
used to be
actually.
a lot more. But yeah, I mean that's the service station.
But I was gonna say, I feel like that's one of those laws where it's like it's on the books, but no one's enforcing it.
No, it's enforced.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I need to see it to believe it. That's nuts.
Oregon is full service only. Full service. You can't touch the gas pump. Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah,
dude.
it's job creation. That's what it is.
Yeah, we need to bring that back.
Bring it back. Service stations everywhere. No retards pumping their own gas. Dude, I want to tell on myself right quick, Josh. I want to tell on myself.
Yeah.
We were in Orlando and I was getting gas, and I went inside and got something, came back outside and kind of drove off.
You bastard. You bastard.
But the gas pumps are built for retards like me to be able to just come out without breaking anything. I wasn't driving down the road with the hose hanging out, at least. I drove off with the gas pump. Sorry, chat.
I've done that once.
Shame on me. Everybody's had shame today. What faith or denomination are we? I was born, raised Southern. Well, I guess we were. I was Methodist for a few years. Went and founded a church, non-denominational. Then I moved into Southern Baptist. I would call myself some version of Southern Baptist, leaning Presbyterian, Reformed. I'm not entirely sure. I'm still trying to work that out. I have been for like the last 3 or 4 years.
I am non-denominational.
Yep, we don't, man. I mean, I have an idea. I don't understand though, but I'm trying to get back to it.
Bring it back.
Retard. Yeah, shame on me, Ninja. Shame on me.
I love Ninja.
All right, boys. I gotta bounce, man. Josh, if you want to, what is it? Will this take me
Take
straight
it for
to
a second.
On that video we just watched, she responded to. Let me pull it up. She responded to, or Candace Owens reposted that video. Said we would rather have our throats slit than to become Christians. Seems remarkably more extreme to me than Christian praying for your conversion. Be gone, wild soulless beast. These people are driven by demons. It's like I was thinking about Power Rangers, but you know, and like we talked about Avatar yesterday, where the guy, the old Scarface dude, gets in the machine and starts doing it, or like the meme of Elon Musk, where he's a Cybertruck body and he's got a little tiny dude.
Yeah.
That's what these people seem like. They're just driven by demons. Sadly.
Well, it's one of those things where if you're not them, you can't comprehend the amount of resentment these people have. Like, that was something that was shocking to me. Like your average Joe goes about their life and they don't think about the Jews. They could go entire months without even thinking about it. You know what I mean? The Jews think about you every day. Resentfully, maliciously, and then, it's not all of them, but it's enough to matter. Same with blacks.
Riona says, "Are you guys faith or faith plus works?" We are faith alone.
Faith will produce works,
and faith produces works. This is kind of what we were talking about really early on. Faith is justification. Works is sanctification.
Mm-hmm.
It's an ongoing process of sanctification. That's kind of what that debate was about. So I would check it out. I think it's worth listening to. There was a little bit of rambling, a little bit of yapping, but as a debate goes, I think it was entertaining. I mean, there's a lot of points that were well made that can be used later on. I guess is what's the point in watching content if it's not repurposable? And I think there's a lot of positions in there that you can repurpose. Ninja said Jews built the MK Ultra gun and turned on the cells. Oh boy. All right, Josh, you gonna chill with chat for a second?
Yeah, I'll chill with chat for a second.
All right. Here,
if you guys can handle me.
I'll give you mouse. I'll give you your own.
Whoa, looky there. This is
chat later. Thank you guys. Let me get that for you. You know how that works?
Yeah, I got you. I got you. Well, let me get myself set up here. Where's the mouse now? Oh, shenanigans.
Go straight down.
I don't know if you can handle all this, Ninja. I know you definitely can't. What the? There. Where to go? Okay. Oh, I think it's stuck on the iPad here. Help me, Dad. There. Okay. Not sure what the problem was. Bye.
Did you lose it again?
What the heck? Yeah.
Go down and to the left. There you go.
There we go. Got it. I got. Where is the outro for later? There we go. All right. So appreciate Zeb, appreciate the show, and we appreciate you guys for watching. I guess the last thing I kind of want to talk about is, Zeb. I don't know if you guys have caught Zeb's stream. I've been watching them a little bit after the fact, because I mentioned yesterday I've been traveling with my girlfriend a lot recently because she's moved back home for a little while. So I'm thinking for my show, because Zeb and I were talking about doing our own individual solo shows. And I don't know, like what I'm thinking about doing is we're trying to diversify the content a little bit. We really enjoy, thank you, Keith, Keith says, great show. Glad that he found it. Let me pull this up there. Boom. Thank you. Please spread the word. And we're trying basically to create our own little empire here. I want to do a show. Zeb wants to do a show. We've got our show we do together outside the Overton. We've got one we do the three of us with Rodney called the Pendulum Podcast. And I think for my show, what we're gonna be focusing on is, so what Zeb has been doing is he's been doing like that kind of like floating head content where he pulls up a bunch of stuff and like responds to it. He goes through the data. I'm thinking about doing a little bit more of an entertainment show, something along the lines of like a talking head show. But I'm going to be getting into, I don't know if you guys will be interested in this, but I know some people will. And we're trying to drive the entertainment audience in, movie reviews from a political standpoint, kind of a free-for-all show where it's not just nailed down to politics. We can really talk about whatever we want. And now someone named Chris B says, diversity is our greatest strength. Incorrect. Diversity is nobody's greatest strength. In fact, it's a hindrance. And now, so Liam Bream says, why would Muslims believe that Muhammad was a good man? This is a scary question. Yeah, I mean, this, and no offense, Liam, but this is one of those things where it's like, like debating Muslims, it's so 2016. Like everyone knows they're backwards sand savages. The real problem is realizing that yes, Muslims are illiterate sand savages, but so are the Jews. So that's something, it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's something people got to do. Daniel says diversity of thought is our strength. To an extent, Daniel, it depends. If you like, it's like there are such thing as good thoughts, there are such thing as bad thoughts. And the truth is if you already have all the good, to say that we need to be more diverse can only bring in bad. And again, that's something, that's just kind of a general, like, I don't really need to tell you that, but seems like chat's drying up a little bit. Give us some suggestions for future topics. Zeb and I are going to be doing some debates too. I'll be beating his ass, obviously. We're going to be talking about evolution. We're going to be talking about presumably whether the flood in Genesis in the book of Noah was full flood. Ninja of Spades says ban thoughts 100%. I definitely think that all thoughts, which is every single woman ever, needs to be banned from the internet. Chris B says the other sand people don't like real debates. This is true. Thank you, Chris B. This is something you've got to, you need to start thinking of these people as the other sand people, where basically, and this is something, if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you guys know who Nick Fuentes is, but I was watching his show that he did last night, and something he talks about is basically the psyop that's going on, where you get these talking points like Israel has the right to defend itself, or I'm an America firster. I don't care about what happens to Israel. That's actually not good enough. It actually does matter that you have an opinion on them. To not think about them is actually to be letting them win. And because here's the thing is, and I'm not going to go overboard explaining this, because Zeb and I, when he's here, we've talked about this so much, but it comes down to this. There's a fifth column in the United States. There's a large, vast network of Jewish influence on our political system, on our education, on our media. It has totally captured the like every meaningful institution in the United States, and is influencing it towards Israel's goals. It's not enough for you to say, I don't care what they do, in the same way you can say, I don't really care what Rwanda does. I don't really care what they do in the Congo. I don't really care what they do in Venezuela. It's actually not, it's not good enough for you to say that, because Rwanda, Ethiopia, you got whatever, they don't have control over our senators. They don't have control over our congressmen. They don't have control over our president. Israel does. So it actually kind of does matter that you have an opinion on them. And, you know, people will throw people like Nick under the bus. Hold on, I want to get this comment off the screen real quick. The mouse is so slow, and, you know, so what do we got here? Daniel says, I'm freedom of speech. Bad speech thought will be exposing itself. This is also something I think is worth talking about too. We'll do this topic in the future as well. I'm pretty sure Zeb agrees with me. He's not here to, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'll speak for myself. I'm actually not a free speech absolutist. I'm actually okay with censoring certain ideas. Perfect example. Homosexuality. Transgenderism. I don't think these people need to be murdered or lynched or anything like that. They need to be helped, but we need to recognize it for what it is, a mental illness. And for some people to go on and say, I'm exercising my free speech to promote all this false information about gays, you know, like positive for them information, I'm actually not okay with that. I don't think that free speech is a biblical and therefore moral imperative. I actually don't think that. I think that, like obviously shoving things under the bed or like covering things up is not a healthy way of dealing with a problem, but allowing people to freely and unabashedly represent evil is not good. So I'm actually not a free speech absolutist. Chat's popping off now. I can barely keep up. Why does God blah, blah, blah? Why does God create a place of torture when we are born unable to not sin? I would argue, like, I'm sort of leaning towards the idea of annihilationism, which is that hell is not eternal torment. It's actually like you are obliterated in fire and killed permanently. You're not actually like conscious for eternity being tortured. I don't know this for a fact. That's what I'm leaning towards right now. I could be convinced otherwise. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. He's God. I know that may not be an answer you want to hear, but as simple as God knows what's right. If God says people need to burn in hell for all eternity, tough titties. You got to burn in hell for all eternity. That's what it is. Jews are good people. Not inherently. I don't think anyone's good inherently. White people, black people, definitely not Jews. But most, I would say, if you're not Christian, the real red pill about what it means to be a good person is that nobody's a good person. Definitely people are more Christ-like, and those are what we should be calling good people. For someone to say, oh, I give to my neighbor, I don't lie, I don't steal, I don't cheat on my wife, but I'm also not Christian, they're actually not a good person. It's not enough to behave correctly, which no one does. That's also a myth too. This idea that like you can do everything that the Bible says is moral and not believe in Jesus, that's also a myth too. People can say that because people get away with saying that because they don't murder people. But in reality, everyone is doing this kind of sin. So anyway, man, holy crap. Chat is popping off. There's no such thing as chicks with dicks, just men with tits. Ted. I'm not sure who Ted is, but I'll take your word for it. Keith. Okay, yeah. On the free speech thing, censored from schools for sure. This is like, I would actually say you should not be able. I would be okay with a government where you're not allowed to write books about homosexuality that weren't talking about it from a clinical and psychological point of view, meaning analyzing why it's wrong. Anything that's like analyzing why it's a positive, I'm actually okay with not allowing things like that to be published. So yeah, I agree with your point on speech, but who regulates it and what can we say and not say? Perfect. I love this question. And this is the thing, is it's like, I love you guys because the boomers can't, like I work in conservative political talk radio, a talk radio show. The majority of the listening audience is boomers. They can't handle these hypotheticals because they're not willing to play this out in their mind. And so I appreciate the question, Chris. I agree with your point on speech, but who regulates what we can and can't say? Christians. I think Christians should be able to. And the thing is it's like, we can hash out, like, that's the point, is like, because I don't have all the best answers right now, people just won't discuss it any further. But honestly, let's talk about it. Let's come up with some sort of government system where we ensure that the people running the country are devout Christians. Is that impossible? Is it so beyond the scope of reality that clearly there are people on the earth that are good moral people, that are true representatives of Christ? Nobody is perfect, everyone makes mistakes, but clearly there are some that are doing it better than others. Why not try and find a system where we can identify those people and then put them at the front of the line of who runs the country? I think that's something worth looking into, like something worth discussing. But that's the problem. People don't want to discuss it because they're so married to the idea of democracy, of everyone having a right to vote. Look where that got us. We're in hell right now. It's worse than ever. Man, there's so many comments here. Third level is diversity for Israel. There's too little diversity in Israel. Very true. Hold on, let me get this off the screen. Too little diversity in Israel. Yeah. To discourage homosexuality, we must have free speech to disparage it. I support shielding children from hearing of homosexuality. I get where you're coming from, Daniel, and I used to think this too. But here's the thing. If it is considered a social pariah from the beginning, it's kind of like this. You have to teach sex ed in school because it's just a part of reality. It's just a part of nature. And in the same way, I'm not saying, this is what I said earlier, you can't just shove it under the bed and pretend it's not there. There is and always has been homosexuals in every civilization known to man. It is not purely psychological. There is the conditions that produce homosexuality are present in this sinful and fallen age. It's not genetic, but it's also not taught either, if that makes sense. So we definitely need to talk about it. But what I'm saying is people that talk about it positively, people that defend it, they should not be given a voice. They should not, and they should be seen as a social pariah. And here's the thing, you can absolutely do that. You can absolutely artificially create that. And obviously that would be like 100 years from now. And also this idea that like the thing stopping people from being gay is a well thought out argument. That's not true. You don't need to watch a debate to know how you feel about homosexuals. You're either gay or you're not. What has kept homosexuality in check for so long is social stigma, is people looking down on them, is them being mistreated. And the thing is the people that will, like, that's another red pill, is like, I don't think anyone is beyond salvation, but there are people that it pains me to say it, but they're almost too far gone. And I'm not saying that there's absolutely nothing that can convince them, but it's things, the type of evidence and the type of arguments, the type of experiences one needs to have to be convinced, they are completely shut off to. They're set in their ways, and it would take a miracle to do otherwise, but that's not how God works. If you're too far gone, sometimes God intervenes, sometimes he doesn't. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why not. It's just the way it is. Okay, let's see some more comments here. Kids don't have constitutional rights. They can't own guns. Very true. That is the parents' deal. I do not believe that schools' government should teach our children about sex. I definitely don't think the schools should do it, or the government. Yes, I do think that is for the parents. I think maybe the school should coordinate, but that's an argument for a different day. Who is this idiot on screen? Well, right now I can point to this idiot right here. He's a little tiny there. That's Zeb Boykin, our dumbass co-host. No, I'm kidding. Love you, Zeb. Well, miss you, babe. Miss you, babe. Come back and see us soon. Are the Irish considered white or potato ninjas? They're white. And that's the thing, is it's like, you guys have probably seen this push on social media to be like, gingers are actually black. Gingers are like the blacks of white people. What's funny to me is you're starting to see why that is, because of the amount of gingers that are so thrilled to be put into that category. And that's all I'm going to say about it. God will not be eternally tested. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Could you provide some clarification? Because I like your comments, Ninja, and you always bring up some good topics when it comes to faith in God, but I'm not sure what you mean by that. People can't conceive of turning things back in America. We tried their way. It's of course a catastrophe. You're absolutely right, Keith. And something else needs to be said is it's not about turning things back. If we turn things back, we'll just go right back to where we are now. We need to adapt. We need to move on and make things better. We need to improve on what was. We tried something. It's become the shit that we live in now. We need to analyze what was good and improve on it and go from there. The Irish are a mix of Nordic, Viking, Aryan, Norman. Yeah. I mean, I honestly, I don't know enough about the Irish lore. You know what I mean? I don't really know enough. It's a rocky road to Dublin. I don't really know enough about it. I don't think about the Irish that much, but they're white people, even if they don't believe it. So anyway, that's good topic, good conversation. God will get, okay, here we go, Ninja. God will give people over entirely to their sins. He does not have to let you be depraved forever, then be expected to roll out the red carpet for you. Perfect articulation of what I was saying, where if you are constant, like, the thing is, it's this idea that, like, if you've never heard of Jesus, therefore you're like completely lost. The truth is that the word of God is written on the hearts of all men. Even if no one has ever heard of Jesus, there is something there. And it may be very, very dim, but there is something there in every man, woman, and child that is the word, that is Christ. Obviously, you know, it's not like they know the story deep down, but the conscience is something that is there. And the thing is you can dilute it. It's a sad fact of life, but you can dilute it. And the thing is people don't do this unwittingly. People rationalize their sin. Even if they don't know it's a sin, they kind of do. So anyway, that's another red pill for you guys. But there's a little taste of what my solo show will be like. I'm a little bit more preachy than Zeb. I hope you guys can deal with it. And like I said, we're going to be talking some content like Zeb doesn't like anything fictional. Zeb is only interested in like fact and opinion based books. I like movies, so you know, like if I had been doing the show, something topical to talk about from a political perspective would be the movie Sinners. I don't know if you guys have seen Sinners, but that's kind of where this like Irish are the blacks of white people type thing came from, because there was an Irish vampire in the movie. So yeah, that's just something to be looking forward to in the future. The area was invaded for centuries. The Romans founded and named Londonderry, known today as London. Sure. Yes, there's a God-shaped hole. Thank you, Keith. There's a God-shaped hole in everybody's hearts. They are scrambling to fill that emptiness that God is supposed to fill. And that's the thing, is people have a emptiness in them that can only be filled with God. But we also have desires. We also like the way it feels to have sex. We also like the taste of delicious food and full bellies all the time. We also like, you know, brushing our teeth. I don't know. Yeah. But, you know, all sorts of things. And people will ignorantly attempt to fill that God-shaped hole with sex, drugs, money, this, that, and the third. Everything you can think of. Tyrone Jefferson. Irish are the blacks of white people. That's because the Irish, I don't know how to put this, but they're kind of dopey generally. They can, like, I don't really know. Honestly, I don't, like, I'm in South Carolina. I don't really know that many Irish people. I know a couple redheads, but that's about it. But yeah, like the Irish, people say like, well, whites were slaves. The Irish were slaves. True. But like the Irish were mistreated by the English for many, many years. They don't get along. And I don't really care to hash it out right now. It's not that big a deal. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Daron. Just focus on that symbol right there. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so there's a little taste of what my show will be. Help me out with names here. I was thinking of Hot Mike for the name of the show. My rationale for that is at my job, I get in trouble all the time for being racist, sexist, and homophobic. Obviously, I'm a little bit more subtle about it on radio than I am here. But like my boss always says, you got caught on a hot mic. So I thought about naming it Hot Mike. I don't know if people would. I don't know if people would get that though. I'm workshopping a couple names right now. Zeb's show is called Kick Rocks. Wish I had thought of that sooner. But that's kind of in line with his naming scheme for his other show he does called Touch Grass. The chemtrail thing. No, who said that? Zeb does not believe chemtrails are real. And then Zeb goes, no, Josh doesn't. I know chemtrails are real. Depends on what you mean by chemtrails. I'm not saying that like when a plane burns fuel in the air, it's not adding a little bit of toxicity. I mean, that's what fuel is. Is it like they're dumping mind control jizz on the entire country and onto our crops? And unbeknownst to me, like if I get on a flight to Sheboygan and there's a tank of mind control jizz in the plane underneath me that's being released into the atmosphere, unbeknownst to the pilot, to me, whatever. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That's my thing. Zeb suggests the blabbering guy. It's cute. It's cute, Zeb. Joshing around. I don't think so. Zeb says chemtrails are real. Chemtrails, that's good. That's good, Chris. Contrails are real. Chemtrails Israel. Maybe. I'm open to being convinced otherwise. But yeah, I'm getting a little brain splooge myself here, Ninja. But yeah, there's a little taste of what is yet to come. I'm excited for the future projects we've got here on our network, the Pendulum Network, whatever you want to call it. But thank you guys for joining. What time is it? It's almost 5 o'clock. As a proud Irishman, I'm horrified by your view on the Irish. So I apologize, Kevin, because here's the thing. That's the thing is I just don't know that much about the Irish. I know the stigma. Like that's what I was kind of trying to convey. Is it's like every group has a negative connotation. You know, like the British. They're seen as regal, but they also are seen as snobbish and having bad teeth. The Irish are seen as more fun, more loving, more charismatic than the British, but they're also kind of seen as dopey and ignorant. You know what I mean? It's tit for tat, back and forth. I don't think the Irish are inherently stupid or something like that. But truth be told, I don't know enough about it. Maybe, comment sometime when we'll talk about Irish lore. Maybe that'll be a subject for one day. Darwin is what mainstreamed the Irish thing. You mean like Charles Darwin, like Darwinism? Maybe. The Irish have a long history of poets and authors. Again, I didn't know that. I would take, let me put it this way. I have nothing against the Irish. I want to make that very clear. If I could replace every undesirable immigrant in the nation with an Irish person, I absolutely would. I mean, our youth start drinking at 14. I don't know if that's common. That's the thing too. The drinking thing is definitely out of control in Ireland. And I just want to say, like, everyone has positives. Like the Italians. The Italians are lively, they're fun, they're smart, they're cool, but they're also so full of themselves. They're also way too prideful. I would argue the Irish are more like the real blacks of Europe. They're fun, they're great, but they're high on their own supply. You know what I mean? You could say anything about that. And let me ask you guys this, because I'm genuinely asking. I was kind of curious about this, because I'm Dutch, or like my last name's Vandernoord. I have Dutch heritage. Are there any negative stereotypes of Dutch people? I've never. I tried to look it up, and of course, I tried to look it up in like 2022. So when you try and look up what are racial stereotypes in a 2022 version of Google, you're going to get bupkis. You're going to get nothing. Bupkis. Flexing the Jewishness over here. Spam in chat. Are there any negative stereotypes about the Dutch? I'm genuinely curious. The only thing I've heard, which I think is kind of funny, it's kind of true. It's not so true of me, but that they have slim heads. Like what's that guy's name? Theo Vaughn says the Dutch are very aerodynamic. That's very funny. There are definitely members of my family that are more aerodynamic, let's say, than others. The only one I could find online a few years ago when I looked was that we like cheese. Very true. But again, that's not like a bad thing. It's like when you think of the worst thing you could say about the Irish, the blacks, compared to the worst thing you could say about the Dutch is that they like cheese. I don't think it's quite. Ninja of Spades says they're ovens, the Dutch ovens. I have heard that, and what I assume, and I've never actually looked into it, is it's because the Dutch oven was like this stone big structure that they used to cook, and they would just get really smelly. So their food was really smelly. I know that one. And I actually, years ago, my family went on a trip to the U.S. Virgin Islands square head. Yeah, I do have a square head. SpongeBob SquarePants over here. Not quite like, what's that guy's name? Matt Rife. I'm not quite Matt Rife level. But I remember there was a kind of a funny story. My family and I, we went to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we were taking a tour, like a boat tour, and the only remaining structures there from like the pirate days, like there was a lot of pirate activity on the Virgin Islands. Like, what's that song? Like that famous song, like 15 Men on the Dead Man's Chest. That's like based off a story that happened on one of the islands there. And anyway, the tour guide was taking, and you could see the Dutch ovens that they had built on the island. And he was like, these are those structures were made like hundreds of years ago, and they're still standing to this day. They require no maintenance, and they're not going anywhere for like probably 1,000 years. They're like the pyramids of the Virgin Islands. You know what I mean? And my dad, we're on the boat tour. He goes, "Oh, we're Dutch." And then this guy, he goes, "They were also notorious slave owners. They were some of the most cruel slave owners ever." And then the boat got kind of quiet. And then, in my back of my head, I'm like, based. Anyway, what's something? Kevin Nelson says the Dutch are unnecessarily tall. I don't think that's a bad thing. Pretty sure the Dutch like making a lot of rules. I'm also Dutch. I mean, I'm biased because I'm Dutch, but I actually think that's probably a good thing. I mean, here I am talking about free speech. That one seems pretty true. But anyway, I'm getting a little burnt out. I appreciate you guys listening. I'll be honest, I was a little bit concerned when Zeb left if the audience would leave, but it's good to know that you guys love me too. And I love you guys, especially you, Ninja, Chris B, Kevin Nelson, Keith. Malarkey was not here today. Daniel was in there. Zeb tuned in for a second. But yeah, I appreciate all the comments, and share the word. We're trying to bring this thing in full time to create some really good and better content for you, as much as we can. But with that being said, I'm Joshua Vandernoord, signing off.